Late at night on Friday, November 30th, President George Herbert Walker Bush passed away of natural causes. I'm not going to go too hard into the bio for Herbert Walker because we've been hearing that excessively for the last 2 days. I am going to put a link in the description to Brady Leonard's No Gimmicks podcast episode from today, Monday, in which he went through and beautifully rendered the bio of George H.W. Bush in a way that really painted him in the good light that I think Bush deserves to be painted in. I had some of my issues with the policies of H.W. Bush when I look back, but I remember the fact that he was a patriot and he was a war hero and he was an all around good guy. So go ahead and check out Brady Leonard's episode and hear the bio come from him. You're going to get a lot more accuracy than you did from the mainstream media in these last couple days. But I do want to take some time and talk about Herbert Walker Bush and his presidency and the way that I saw it. Brady went out and said in his podcast that he was too young to remember Herbert Walker Bush. I am not. Herbert Walker Bush was actually the very first person I could correctly identify as the President of the United States in current times. I can remember clearly the 1992 election in which Ross Perot took the presidency away from Herbert Walker Bush in his re-election bid and how we got Bill Clinton out of it. But I can remember, not necessarily clearly, I almost said clearly, but I can remember George H.W. Bush being president and what that meant to us in middle America, in Union country. I cite it almost every time I come on and do a show talking about the Democrats, but I came from a Democrat household, mainly through the Union that my father worked through, but there was also Union influence that came from my mother's side of the family. Therefore, growing up without much explanation, Republicans were just evil and all they wanted to do was ship my dad's job down to Mexico. And that is something that I did hear as I came to the age of reason. But I applaud my parents for doing this because by all and every single right of the conversation, the way that they taught me to approach politics and public office was the right way, no matter how much it came against their ideals. I was taught from a very young age that there is an innate respect that goes along with the office of the presidency and any other elected official under whose jurisdiction you happen to live. No matter what your ideological differences are with them, you should always treat anybody in any elected position with respect, so long as they are not directly threatening you or your way of life. Considering the fact that at the time that I was coming into the age of reason and starting to learn how to interact with society, there had been a Republican in office for my entire life up to that point, I do understand the fact that that was probably a difficult lesson for my parents. And George H.W. Bush possibly made it a little bit easier with the fact that he was, in fact, a decent human being, and he did walk the walk no matter what it was that the media tried to portray him as he was in office. Yes, I understand the fact that he failed on his bid for no new taxes, and that is a part of the reason that congressional Democrats right now want to praise him. He does represent what a good little inline neoconservative Republican should be, bending to the whims of the Democrats no matter what. And part of the reason that people want to compare Trump to George Herbert Walker Bush, and even George W. Bush to George H.W. Bush. As I grew older and approached the age of reason during the Clinton years and started to understand a little bit more of life, the dialogue did change a little bit between my parents and I and the presidency, and I could hear some of the jokes that were being made about Clinton and understand them, and they were coming from my parents, who were in fact on Clinton's side and supported him for both of his terms for president. But there was still the innate respect that came from it no matter what he did. And that's something that I think that we could use to learn in today's political society. But maybe it was just myself and my sister, because I do see evidence among my peers and the people that are younger than me that this was possibly a unique lesson that was taught to me and not taught to other people who were in my age group and beyond. Most millennials started learning their lessons about respect and authority during the Clinton years. I had a unique opportunity to start learning about this during the H.W. Bush years. So, most of them were taught to respect the presidency just because Clinton was in it. When I look back at some of the media posts and some of the way that people were talking about it on the news, there was a very slight God complex that was being portrayed onto Clinton at the time. It's not nearly as prevalent as was surrounding Obama, and as much as some of the supporters of Trump seemed to raise him to, but it was definitely there. Therefore, the parents of these children who were also supporters of Clinton were teaching them that it's only okay, in theory, I can't actually prove this because I wasn't in every single household, to respect the presidency so long as somebody that you like was in it. I thank my parents for the lessons that they taught me about respect for the people that are in office, no matter how you feel about them or no matter how you voted, because it helped me to convey my message of smaller government and more localized forms of control and less control in general on all levels in a way that is calm and rational, and it helps me to debate in a way that's calm and rational as well. As hard as I railed on Obama during his entire 8 year presidency to anybody who would listen or wanted to talk about it, I always did so with a level of respect for the fact that he was the president and he was elected by the majority of the people around me. So they all saw something in him that I possibly did not see, or saw what they wanted to see in him. He was still an elected official and he was still my president, even though I didn't agree with almost the entirety of his agenda while he was in office. The level of respect that I had for Obama, no matter how I felt about his policies, is something that you don't see with people who are younger than me or people who are anti-Trump or anti-Republican put towards Trump himself. Many people have called for the death of Trump and any other Republican that's in office, especially coming from the era of Trump. And I think social media has helped to accelerate this. Twitter, Gab, Facebook, all of these are different ways where you can go into an echo chamber and express your opinion, and in some cases you don't have to worry about an outside influence trying to challenge it. When we were younger, before there was social media, we did have the opportunity to have that challenged. But for the most part, I do think it stems from upbringing. And I think that these are values that were taught to the children of the Clinton supporters, who taught them that it was, again, only okay to respect the elected officials that you directly elected, or the ones that you like if they are out of state. In closing, I say this: George Herbert Walker Bush, thank you for your service, both in the military and in office. Thank you for a lifetime of lessons to this country, and thank you for taking the time and taking the badgering of the American people and the American media to try and continue on to your predecessor's legacy. What comes for you in the next life is between you and God, but in this life you will be missed. Godspeed, Mr. President.